And good evening and welcome to the Modern Mystic radio show. My name is Sarah, I'm your host. I'm going to be with you for the next 30 minutes. You're listening to A1R Psychic Radio, the world's #1 psychic radio network. And we're also on Moonstruck TV. So if you want to get hold of me outside of the show, my website is www.modern-mystic.co.uk, or you can find me on Facebook Live under Modern Mystic and Mystic Saira, where I am doing a weekly Facebook Live free session if you want to join into that as well. Okay, so I'll be taking 2 callers today, which I can't wait for, so I'm really looking forward to that. And my topic for today is Akashic Records, so I wanted to go into a little bit more detail around that. Okay, so the Akashic Records, if you imagine like a massive library, a massive hall of records and knowledge and data and wisdom, all based around each and everybody's soul. Okay, so what you'll be able to access through your own Akashic record is everything about your past lives, everything about your present life and also future lives. So anything really major that has been, that either you have done or you need to know is actually held within these records. Now, this is one of the things that I do work with quite a lot, and I'll be showing you how soon. But fundamentally, you can find out pretty much anything you need to know. So why access the Akashic Records? Well, generally, I tend to use this technique, one, either to do a soul reading on somebody to find out perhaps their life purpose, their soul purpose, etc., etc. Or if there is a stubborn issue where that person cannot seem to resolve maybe a previous pattern, and it can't necessarily be related. It won't go no matter how much work they do on something. It could very well be, an abundance block or a love block or any other kind of block that we're looking at that cannot be resolved looking at this life alone. So this is where I use the Akashic Records to kind of get the detail of that. Now, I recently did a small Akashic Records workshop, and somebody asked me, well, okay, so if we do find out what has been the cause, what can we do about it? Well, fundamentally, the beauty of accessing your Akashic record and finding out that information is that once you become aware of the true cause of whether it's a fear, phobia, block or what have you, then that's where the magic happens. You no longer need to go through that same old pattern. You become aware of it. Awareness really is the key there. And also another thing that we can look at, which is fascinating to me, is our soul connections as well. So, perhaps you've met somebody and there is some sort of deep connection. Maybe that there may be a previous life between the two of you. You can actually find out detail of that and also be able to work through any issues here. So quite often I'll look at the Akashic Records if I need to view, a soul connection, soulmate energy that perhaps isn't working at the moment, and I need to sort of go right back there with that soul connection into a previous life to see what the issue is. Because quite often we will have fears and anxieties, etc., and thoughts and feelings that we can't necessarily explain, but they still come up and they're very powerful. Now, generally when that happens, there is some sort of past life issue with that or some sort of soul issue with that. So these are the areas that we can look at. So I'm going to tell you now how I do this. Okay, so I'm just going to show you my tool that I use for Akashic record readings. Okay, so we have it up here. This is called a cathedral library, so I'm just going to bring that right up close to the camera, and you can see there's a little doorway just in front there. Okay, so this is where I go into the crystal and I access the Akashic records. Now obviously I've got my crystal here, a cathedral library of light it's called, but you don't necessarily need to be in the direct presence of that crystal. So you can do by just even visualising mine and visualising that doorway, you can access the Akashic records yourself. Okay, so what I do and what I teach people to do is, number one, they open up their chakras, get into a relaxed state. It's a meditation that you use. And then you go in through that doorway, and then within that you will see the Akashic records. So you take a little bit of time taking that all in. And in the centre of the crystal, in the centre of the room, is a podium with your record laying out. So you approach that record, and here you can ask many questions. Okay, so the types of questions that I normally get people to ask while they're there is, show me a life that is a past life that is relevant or playing a part in this life that I need to be aware of, and see what comes forward with that. I also get people to have a look at their soul pathway now, and their life purpose and what it is that they need to know right at this moment. I also get people to step forward a little bit in time and see what they need to know over the next year or so to further fulfill and get into alignment with their soul purpose. And then I also project them then into the following life, into our next incarnation, to see what's going on there and what we are going to progress on to. And then finally, I ask them to look at each and every soul connection that is relevant to them in this life. Okay, so that might be one particular person that jumps out, or it could be somebody that's actually coming in, into your future, in terms of on a soul level there for you. So those are the sorts of questions you can ask. And also, you can ask questions about another person with their permission, of course. So if you go into the Akashic Hall of Records and you're just being nosy, or you want to find some dirt on somebody, it's not going to give you that kind of information. That's going against the laws of the laws of the universe, as it were. So you would need some sort of permission, even on a soul level, to do that. Now, obviously, when I'm doing a reading for somebody, I kind of have their permission there and then. I don't necessarily need to seek that. But if you are going in remotely and doing this at home, it's something you would need to seek. You'll either get a yes or no on it, at the end of the day. But fundamentally, if there's perhaps somebody that you're trying to help, and you're wondering, actually, is there something there from a past life that needs to be brought forward and cleared there to explain why they're feeling or going through a particular experience? Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. And always remember, when you come out of the meditation, to step back through the doorway, visualise yourself back in the room, shrink down the crystal, close down your chakras as well. Okay, right, so I am ready to take my first caller. And this is from Ben. This is Ben in New South Wales, Australia. Hi, Ben, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay, welcome to the show, Ben. It's an absolute delight to have you on. Do you have a question or something that you would like me to look at for you today?
Yeah, well, I've recently lost my father-in-law, and I'm just kind of looking for some guidance from him, because we feel as though that he's still around.
Okay.
Yeah, and we feel as though that he's still got some type of message to convey towards us.
Okay. Right, so
yeah.
Let's just have a look here for you and see what I can kind of get from his energy. I just get a lovely feeling there with him. Okay, so I do feel that he's heavily around you, around your family as well. And what I want to say here is I get such beautiful energy here with this. Definitely 100%. I feel that this gentleman is at peace. I feel it's almost like I feel like his life was kind of cut short. Does that make sense? I feel like he left very quickly. Does that make sense to you? Or not unexpectedly, but quickly. Yeah. Now you have absolutely. I pulled out some cards. I use spirit message cards when I try and tune into spirit, and absolutely, I feel like going forwards, there is a huge vested interest in all of you and your progression, and I feel like there's a voice, if you like, he's asking you to listen to the voice in the back of your mind, which I feel like is his. Okay, I feel like also he's showing you signs, or he will show you signs, and I'm also getting the dream world being prevalent here as well. So I feel like he will step forward in whether it's your dreams or your family's dreams here, just to let you know when there is something significant coming in. This gentleman comes forward with a sense of real wisdom. Okay, I feel like I've got a gentleman that has a very, very wise manner about him. And I also feel here, he's giving his support and he's giving his love to you all. And fundamentally, he wants you to know that he is safe and he's well, and he's very much at peace. But I also feel here that he will come in temporarily, almost like not temporarily, but over a period of time. And now and then I feel like I've got him coming forwards quite strongly sometimes. But there's something about anniversaries as well here with him. Is there some sort of anniversary or birthday or something like that coming up?
Well, there's Father's Day is coming up next or actually this weekend in Australia. So
okay.
and we're looking at he used to love sitting by the fire in the backyard, and we were actually looking at doing that for him. Cause, he used to love doing that. So.
I feel like he's bringing my attention to your plans here, and I also feel here that he is going to be present with you. You're going to feel his energy, all of you, there. And I also get a lovely feel with this, because it's strange, because he's coming forward and saying you're going to have a very, 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 very great time. Lots of laughter, lots of memories being shared. But as you share your memories, I feel like he will be part of that with you.
Yep.
Is there anything else you would like to ask?
We keep getting the feeling of a pregnancy in the family. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, let's have a look and let's see if we've got some news coming in for you or for your family. Let's just have a look and see what we get there with this. Yeah, he seems to be saying congratulations as well. Okay, let's have a look and see what I get there with this. Okay, right, no. So this, I like the energy of this. There is also a sense and a feel of a carrying forward of a name as well. With this child that's coming in, I feel this is, how can I put it, this is just about to happen. So I feel that the person isn't pregnant just yet, but what I am being shown here is by the end of the year I get the celebrations coming in here for you, okay, or for your family. This is, how can I put it, this is going to be very welcome news, because the person that we're looking at has gone through a really, really challenging time. Okay, so I get, how can I put it? What I'm being shown here is almost like a new dawn breaking. Okay, for the member of family that this is associated to. Okay, so this feels as though by the end of the year, even though there's been much struggle, even though there's been much sadness and disappointment, I am seeing it being celebrated, and I just feel here that, how can I put it? It is the most welcome news and it's the most positive sign. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like your intuition is leading you in the right direction. It's giving you the correct information there. So I feel by the end of the year, there is news around this. Okay?
Okay then, yep.
All right, thank you very much for coming through to me.
Yes, thank you so much for all your help, though.
Thank you, take care.
You too, thank you, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Right, so I'm going to go straight on to my next caller, and we have Samantha from San Diego, California. Hi, Samantha, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, what would you like to ask me? Do you have a question for me today?
I'm just concerned about the relationship that I'm in. If it's heading in the right direction.
Right, okay, let's have a look and see what we have here around your relationship. I'm just going to give the cards a bit of a shuffle and see what I get around this. Okay. Okay, alright, let's just see what we get with this. Bear with me, I'm just sort of tuning into the energy here for you. Right, okay, so I do feel like ultimately this relationship is going to go in the direction that you would like to see it go. However, what I also feel here is that it's like you're kind of getting the wrong signals from him, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, so it feels like, I just feel like I'm not getting anything really coming back from him. In terms of where I don't even feel like I'm getting communication properly from him in terms of how he feels or where he sees things going here. But I do feel that the relationship itself will move in the right direction. And what I'm being shown here is, being shown here, give it the benefit of the time. Around October time is where I feel you're going to get a much more positive element here with him. I just want to pull some extra cards to see what I get here with him. I feel, if I look at him, I feel like I've got, there seems to be either a couple of commitment issues or issues around relationships there with him. So I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a hot and cold kind of energy that you're receiving. Does that make sense to you?
It does, exactly.
Yeah. 1 minute it's on, 1 minute it's off. But this seems to be stuff that I feel, it's like, it's not the easiest of men. I feel like, 1 minute the connection between you two is beautiful, and the next minute the barriers go up, and I get him retreating back into his shell. But I do feel fundamentally that, he doesn't really like being like that, but I feel like he can't help it at the same time. And this comes down to his own fears to a certain degree. I get with the relationship, a very, very powerful connection between the two of you. And I feel like sometimes he finds that a little bit unsteady. He feels a little bit unsteady with that kind of energy. However, he cannot help with the fact that when you do spend time together, that the energy is incredibly powerful between the two of you. There's a very, very strong element of love here, and I feel that even though he may be giving you sometimes, the opposite message of what I feel he feels, I do feel that he will break through that. He will sort out his own issues, And then I feel here the barriers will come down. Again, I'm being shown here by the cards about 2 months time. And then I feel like you're in a much, much stronger position there with him. I feel here it's like you're not quite sure whether to invest in the relationship, you know. I feel here that you yourself, you know, he's not the only one that's had difficulties in the past. So have you. But I feel here, you know, I feel like in 2 months' time you'll be much more confident about the relationship. How long have you been together?
3 years.
3 years, okay. And I just feel like he moves forward then he moves back. It's most bizarre here. It's like there's something that he needs to kind of break through with this. Let me just sort of have a look. I'm just going to get the past life cards there with him to see if there's anything else kind of holding him back on the emotional level. Okay, right. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay. Right, so I feel if I look at him and his background, if I go into his past life element, I feel like he has spent many of his lives actually quite solitary. So almost like in a celibate kind of way, okay? So without relationships as such, but more so a relationship with himself. And I feel here, you know, there are some elements of him feeling like a fish out of water when it comes to actually connecting with somebody completely. But I also feel that he will break through that. I feel like this is his time, this is his life there to explore a deep and meaningful and also a spiritual relationship. Okay, and this is what I feel here he's found with you, but he's been so used to and conditioned to that solitary element. You know, I feel that this is something that he struggles with. Does that make sense to you? Does that resonate with you?
It does. And I'll continue to describe me.
Yeah. So I feel like fundamentally this is perhaps maybe the cause of the issue. And it's, I want to say really patience with him. I don't feel like you're wasting your time. I feel like he's got a lot to give, you know. He has got a lot to give. He's just not used to giving that in that way. Okay. I feel like in other areas he's like 100% committed. But it's just this love area that I feel like he is struggling with, you know. This is more to do with like his personality and where he sits on an emotional level, rather than how he feels about the relationship. But I feel here that you kind of been brought into his life to help open his eyes to, I want to say to the beauty of, that companionship and that real soul connection as well.
Right.
Is there anything else you would like to ask? Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. I mean, we've been doing this for 3 years, and I was just, I guess is it going to go someplace besides like where it's sitting now, I guess that was my main concern.
Fundamentally, I do feel that there is going to be a major shift there with him. I don't feel like I've got you standing still within this relationship, because that's where you feel you are at the moment, just, going a bit, on that Ferris wheel, that hamster wheel. That's what it feels like you're doing, and not really getting anywhere. But I feel that you will see a change in him when he's ready to make that step, which is not a million miles away. It's not in years to come. This is going to be happening, over over the duration of the next few months. You know, I feel by the end of the year, he's going to be actually moving forwards there with you, slowly but surely. But please bear in mind, you know, he feels a little bit out of his depth there within relationships. It's almost like he kind of wants a relationship, but he also craves that solitary element as well, and that's the thing that he needs to shift away from. Okay.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so very much.
Wonderful. Thank you. You take care, and thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you. Take care. Oh, wasn't she lovely? So I want to thank the lovely Samantha and also Ben for coming through. I'm going to be here again same time next week. I will have a special guest with me, so I'm really looking forward to that, and you'll see who it is next week. But it's another medium. I'll give you a hint. And what I also would like to say here is thanks for listening. If you want to get hold of me, you can do on www.modern-mystic.co.uk. Stay tuned for some wonderful, wonderful shows which are coming up next. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you same time next week.